This conference will now be recorded.
So first what we'll do, we'll try to configure the basic accounts payable and basic accounts receivable so that we are in a position to create customer master and vendor master. And then we will try understanding how different transactions are posted, like your invoice, credit memo, payment, advance. So these are the basic transactions. Once we are able to create an invoice, create a credit memo, create a down payment, create the payment, then we will start discussing about different practical scenarios from vendor side and from customer side. Okay, now we are going to configure this in S4HANA directly, for which, so what I'll write is, I'll put AP configuration steps. I am only writing the basic configuration steps. What is the first step? Vendor
Group creation.
account groups, correct. Second one,
Number ranges.
vendor number ranges, correct. Third one,
Assigning number ranges to vendor group.
assignment of number ranges to account group. These are the first three settings that we need to do from accounts payable configuration point of view. After that, there are two more settings, right, from the BP point of view, 4 and 5.
Cross applicant component.
Okay, this 4 and 5 we will write once we define this three settings. So for vendor account groups, what I'm planning to do is, let me put in this way, number ranges and assignment. I'm just keeping in this way so that it is easy to understand. Vendor account groups I'm going to create like local vendors,
Domestic vendors, foreign vendors,
foreign vendors,
one-time vendors,
intercompany vendors, one-time vendors,
service vendors,
employee vendors, service vendors. Let's say we'll go ahead with these vendor categories. How many we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we are going ahead with 6 vendor account groups. So this is your first setting. Let me put a different color for this. And your second step will be different. You will need number ranges in the second step. And in the third step, okay, so number range is nothing but how do you want to identify your vendor? According to our business case or according to our business scenario, we have 6 category of vendors, which means your vendors are classified into 3 categories. They are your local vendors, foreign vendors, intercompany vendors, one-time vendors, employee vendors, and service vendors. Now, this is the first point that you will receive from your client. Whenever you are defining accounts payable, this is your first point that should strike your mind. Number of account groups that are available. People even ask you how many account groups are created or are used in your previous client. So you must have at least 4, 5, or at least minimum 5 in your mind at any given point of time. Clear? And once you are able to tell that these are the 5 or 6 account groups that you've created for vendors, next one that should strike your mind is how you are going to identify these vendors. Any vendor is identified based on the vendor code or based on the vendor number. In short, for every vendor in SAP, there is a unique identification number. The way you have GL account number, similarly, you are going to have vendor account number. This vendor account number can be maximum 10 digits. Same like your GL account, your vendor account number also can have maximum 10 digits. And how you are going to use these 10 digits is again business requirement. So you will discuss with your client and then you will decide how these vendors are going to be utilized. Now, first, when we are defining this basic version of accounts payable, we are not going to talk about vendors with customers. Right? Once we complete the basic accounts payable, basic accounts receivable, when we complete one cycle of transactions, we are going to discuss this once again with vendor, customer, and business partner together. What those 3 points together? Vendor, customer, and what is the third one? What is the third one apart from vendor and customer?
Business.
Business partner,
Hmm.
right? So that is very important from S/4HANA point of view. If you are generally configuring accounts payable, if you are generally configuring accounts receivable without corresponding to each other, everything will work fine. You will see everything is straightforward. But when it comes to S/4HANA system, you have to see your business partner, you have to see your vendor, you have to see your customer together and decide your account groups, number ranges. Because there is something called CVI. What is it?
Customer vendor integration.
There is something called CVI in S/4HANA, which talks about customer vendor integration. Is this correct abbreviation?
Yes, sir.
When we talk about CVI, which is your customer vendor integration, which means your customer, your vendor, your business partner will have same account number. Am I correct? Your customer, your vendor, your business partner will have same account number. In short, one account number can be used for same vendor, same customer, and then same business partner. How you are going to design your settings of accounts payable and accounts receivable to meet this concept called CVI, customer vendor integration, is very important when it comes to your S/4HANA setting, right? You have to keep this in your mind and then start your accounts payable, accounts receivable in S/4HANA. Since we're doing it for the first time, I'm not showing this as of now. First, we'll try to understand accounts payable as a standalone and accounts receivable as standalone. Then in the second level of configuration, we are going to configure AP and AR together, keeping a business partner in mind. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Right now. So what I am going to do is I am going to decide one number range. I'm going to decide one number range. When I say number range, I mean the starting number of my vendor, starting number of my customer. So let's say for local vendors, I'll put 1. For foreign vendors, I'll put 2. For intercompany vendor, I'll put 3. For one-time vendor, I'll put 4. For employee vendor, I'll put 5. For service vendor, I'll put 6. Just as an example. Now, what is this going to explain me, or what is this giving an indication to the business is that any vendor account which is starting from 1, by looking at the vendor number, if it begins from 1, I come to a conclusion that this is a local vendor. Correct? Huh?
Yes, sir.
If I see any vendor number which is starting from 5, I see a vendor number, a vendor account is debited or credited in a financial transaction. I'm looking at the transaction. My transaction is going to tell me the account number, and then the account name of the vendor, and the number of the vendor. Based on that, I must be in a position to identify whether this vendor belongs to local category, foreign category, intercompany category, one time employee, or service. This is possible only with your proper number range configuration. So you have to logically think and then put a number range here, right? When you're practicing, you may not find the number range as per your choice, as per your convenience, but when you're in a real environment, there will be no existing number ranges in the system. Whatever the number range you maintain, that will be the final number range, or that is the only number range updated in a client system. When it comes to your practice system, different people will practice, and you might not find the number range that you want to create. Clear? So do
Yes,
not
sir.
try to get the concept from SAP. Do not try to get the concept from SAP, because you are now practicing on the demo server. Demo server may not be accurate in terms of certain configurations. Your number range is one of those, especially for your vendor and customer. So do not assume that whatever the number range is available in your practices server, in the similar way you are going to create in the real environment. That is wrong. First, you are going to draft, design everything on the Excel sheet. On your SAP screen, this is pure copy paste activity, in short, data entry. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Sir, vendors and business partners are different or same, sir?
Same. In S4 HANA, you call any person or any organization with whom you're dealing with, you're doing business activity. Let it be sale transaction, let it be purchase transaction, or any other financial transactions, any monetary transaction with any person or any company. So you call the receiver or the other person as your business partner. So your other person for a particular business deal, maybe a customer, maybe a vendor, maybe an employee, maybe a bank, correct? Maybe a financial institution. So in ECC version, what we used to call everything separately, like customer, vendor, bank, employee. But in S4 HANA, everything is consolidated and everything has been given a single name called business partner. Right? He is your partner with whom you're doing business. What kind of a business you are going to do with the other person will decide based on the respective role assigned to the business partner. How you are going to decide? You are going to decide based on the role. This is nothing but your BP role. Which role?
Okay. BP role.
Your
BPO.
BP role talks about whether your business partner is a customer or a vendor or an employee. Clear?
Yes,
So
sir.
that we will come once we define the basic vendor related settings and basic customer related settings. Now, when you define this basic vendor related settings and customer related settings, these are exactly same as your ECC system. Whatever the three steps we have written here, these three steps are common in ECC. These three steps are exactly same in S4 HANA system. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, I am going to freeze a number range which I want to use for my company. Now, before I freeze this, let me have a look at on the system. But when you are in a project, you're not going to look at the system because there is no number available in the system. So whatever you wanted to use, you are free to use. But when there are already existing numbers in the system, you cannot use the existing number. In short, whatever the number you want to use is a freely available number. When I say freely available number, that number is not used by anyone or not used by any other account group earlier. So for this, let me log into SAP. S/4HANA. I'll go to transaction XKN1 to define the vendor number ranges. Before creating the vendor number range, what I want to do is I want to check what number ranges are currently defined in the system. If you see, you will find lot of number range already created here, from number to number, correct? All these number ranges are already used, which means if I try to use the same range like this, so somebody has used 1 lakh to 1 lakh 99. If I try to use same number range series, system will not allow because this range is already used. This is nothing but overlapping of number range. What is it called?
Overlapping.
Overlapping of number
Overlap.
range.
This overlapping means you are duplicating the number range. I have already taken number range 1, or I am already using 1 to 10. You're not supposed to use 1 to 10 again, right? You're not supposed to use 1 to 10 again if it is already defined, if it is already used, which means if you look at this, 1 lakh to 1 lakh 99 has already been utilized. If I want to use any number from this range, system is not going to accept. It will give an error message stating do not overlap the number ranges. So when you get this message stating do not overlap or number range should not be overlapped, you have to immediately understand somebody has already taken or somebody has already used this range. So you have to look for a different number range. This problem happens only in your practice environment because different people will practice here. People will use number range left and right. If you look at this, how many numbers are assigned here? 1 lakh to 1 lakh to 1 lakh 99,000. But practically, are we going to create those many number ranges, those many vendors, 1 lakh vendors? No, right?
No, sir.
So unnecessarily, people will block the numbers like this. So you are not supposed to break your head to bring a number range here. Instead, simply understand the logic and take the existing number ranges, and from there you split your number ranges. When I say it, you have to see what number ranges are freely available, which means can be used. Pick that number range. From there you split according to your account groups. From there you split according to your account group. But keep in your mind that this is not the way you are going to define in a project. When you're in a project, when you look at this XKN1 screen, it will be blank completely. Will there be anything in your real environment? Any number range will be there, or it will be fully blank?
Blank.
It will be completely blank. There will be no existing number range in your practical system, right? Keep that point in your mind. When it is fully blank, you have full freedom. You can use any number range. You can use any number range. You can use any number interval, any from number, any to number. But when it comes to your practice, it is completely opposite. So do not keep this point in your mind. Okay, this is only for the sake of completing the configuration. You have to compromise. But when sorry, when you are in a project, this is not the situation. So try to understand the concept in the Excel sheet. Let's say I want to go ahead with this series number range, and you should also decide on the length of vendor account. What is the maximum length we can go for? What is
8.
the maximum length we can go for vendor number range?
10 digits.
For a GL
10
account,
digits.
what is the maximum length? 10 digit,
10.
10
10.
right? So let me count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you cannot go beyond 10 digits for any vendor number range, for any customer number range, for any GL number range. Clear? People might ask these points also. What is the maximum number that we can use for a vendor account? Okay, you can use maximum how many digits? 10 digits. Now, your vendor number range can be vendor number range can be internal or external. Okay, when I say vendor number range can be internal or external, so what does it mean?
It can be system generated or we can key in the number.
Right, so the number can either be system generated or you can feed the number at the time of creation. In short, internal number range must be numeric. Okay, internal number range must be numeric. And on the other side, external number range can be alpha numeric. Right, your internal number range must be numeric. External can be alphanumeric. What is the difference between these two?
External, we can use even alphabet. We can key in the alphabet also. External.
Right. Now let's say if I talk about internal number range must be numeric, I have to say, let's say 1001 to 1100. This is my number range. Now when I use this internal number range, I have to tell the system the from number and the to number. This is called as your number range interval, from interval and to interval. In short, the sequence from number to number, and you are giving a range. So here this range contains 100 numbers, correct? Is this correct?
Yes, sir.
This range contains 100 numbers, and this is always sequential. So system will generate vendor number at the time of saving in the sequential order. In short, next available number. When I say this, for every number there is something called number range status, or in short we also call it as NR status. What is NR status? Status is nothing but the current number, current status or current situation. So according to this, let's say my current number $11.25. Okay, so what will be the next number? If I say my current number is 11.25, what will be the next number? 11.26?
6.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So system will always go in the sequential order. When I say sequential order, it will go 1001, 1002, 3, 4, and so on until it reaches 1100, which means you cannot deviate the sequence, you cannot break the link. It has to be strictly sequential order. You cannot select the number that you want. You might get a vendor who says that no, give me a fancy number, 1111 is my lucky number, create my vendor code as 1111. Not possible. You do not have that option, that flexibility to pick a vendor number for a particular vendor. Whatever the code is available at the time of your vendor master creation, only that number is generated by the system automatically. You have no control on it. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Whereas when it comes to your external number range, this can be alphanumeric. This can be alphanumeric. Now, what is your sorting order in SAP?
Blank.
Number, then alphabet.
Sorting order
Alphabet.
is your
Blank.
blank. After that,
Number. Numeric.
alphabet,
Alphabet.
and then special characters. Finally is your number. Correct? First is your blank, followed by alphabets, special characters, and the last is your numbers. So in short, wherever you want to maintain alphanumeric number range, you will call these kind of number ranges as external number range. We call it as what number range? External number range, which means at the time of vendor creation itself, you can decide what code you want to give to your vendor. In this situation, you can select any code that you want. You can go with fancy number, you can go with any combination. Let's say if my vendor name is Raju, if this is my vendor name, so I can create anything. I can create Raju as my vendor, right? I may not have to create a number or a code for Raju. I'll create RAJU as my vendor code, or I can also create Raju1, or I can also create 1111, any series from the range that I have maintained. Any series from the range that I have maintained. Now here you should strictly maintain a number range from which it will allow you to pick any number or any alphabet or combination of alphabet plus number, alphabet special character, alphabet number special character altogether. It is your choice. System is not going to stop you anywhere unless it is already available. The only point is you cannot duplicate the number. Clear? If it is internal number range, there is no possibility of duplication because system has the control. When it comes to external, there is no control from the system. The external number range is controlled by the user who is creating it. Agree? So user will have to ensure that the number that he is creating is a unique number which is not used before. Okay, so now what we are going to do, we are going to decide what is the number range that we are going to use, and also whether this is internal number range or external number range. When you are defining the number range on the system, you will find an option called ext here. Do you find a checkbox called external assignment?
Yes, sir.
This external assignment, if you tick like this, if you enable the checkbox, this will become external number range. If you do not tick, this will become internal number range. Okay, now first what I will do is, So when you're in a project, you are going to decide the number range of 10 digits. How many digits?
10 10 digits. digits.
Your vendor code is going to be 10 digits. If you feel that no, I do not have those many vendors, then you can decide 8-digit vendor code, 7-digit vendor code, 6-digit vendor code also. But maximum you are going to use 10-digit vendor code. But it is your client choice to go ahead with either 10 digits or 8 digits, 6 digits, 4 digits, 7 digits. But maximum is 10 digits. Most commonly, people go with either 6-digit or 8-digit. Okay, so let us also go ahead with 6-digit number range or 8-digit number range. It is your choice. But whatever you are defining the vendor number range, this is client specific setting. What setting?
Client specific.
Client specific setting. Now, these three settings, your basic accounts payable configuration, whatever we are defining, vendor account group, vendor number range, assignment of number range to account group, these are not company code specific, these are client specific. What do I mean these are client specific?
Any other company codes also can use this.
Right, assuming I am working for a project, let's say I'm talking about an implementation. I am working for an implementation project wherein there are 5 company codes in scope. Okay, so we are working for a project, an implementation project wherein we have to configure 5 company codes. Normally, for all the configurations, what we usually do, if you are creating 5 company codes, you are going to do company code setting 5 times. Correct? Huh? So there are certain settings which are company code specific. You will repeat the same setting 5 times. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes, no?
Yes,
But
sir.
there are certain settings which are client specific. When we talk about client specific setting, you are not going to repeat the setting 5 times. Instead, you will repeat the setting 1 time, but you will assign it 5 times to the 5 company codes. You are going to repeat only the assignment step 5 times, but not the creation step 5 times. You will create once, you will use multiple times. Same like here, your account groups are created only once and can be used by any company code. Your number ranges are created only once, and then this number range is straight away connected with your account group. Whenever you're calling the account group, this by default calls the number range. Combination of these two is nothing but this setting, right? So if I want to create a vendor, I need not have to create my accounts payable configuration. I can straight away proceed for vendor creation. To show you that, let me go to, I'm going through FK01 because I've not yet talked about business partner. So when I'm on this, I've been redirected to business partner. Let me come here, but remember the transaction FK01. So here, let me select any account group, right? I'll put any information, English. I'll proceed to save. Did system stop me anywhere?
No, sir.
I straight away entered the system. I'm able to create a business partner. Now I'll go to company code on the top. I'll put company code AJ10. I'll use this. Now, what message are you getting here?
Not available for business partner.
Company code is not available for business partner. Is this giving error message related to vendor, or is this giving error message related to business partner?
Business partner.
Business partner.
This error message is related to business partner. We have not yet configured any settings related to business partner so far, right? Before we configure business partner related settings, your vendor related settings are must. Okay, so now we were able to create 3005. We were able to create 3005. If we are in SAP ECC, we can straight away create a vendor without the settings. You can pick any account group. All you need is the GL account code creation. If you have the reconciliation GL created, like your accounts payable, you're good to create vendor of any account group that is already available in the system. But how these are connected, why we are creating different account groups, how system is triggering in the background and all is what you have to a little bit conceptually or technically you need to get through it. Now let me come out of this screen. Okay, so here what we will do is we'll try to understand the number range. So let's go ahead with 8-digit number range. So let's say when I'm talking about 8 digits, I have to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now it has become 8 digits. So 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. One more 9. Like this, you'll have to maintain number ranges for everything. All the vendors, you need to maintain number range like this, which will be provided to you by your client. Clear? These account groups classification is given to you by your client. This number range is also given to you by your client based on your initial business process discussion, and these two informations are part of your KDS document. Which document?
KDS.
KTS.
KDS. What is KDS?
Key data structure.
KDS nothing but key data structures. Key data structures, which will contain what are your vendor account groups like this, what is the number range for each account group. This information will be documented or will be stored in the KDS document. This KDS document is an Excel document. Okay, so I'll put this. If people want to test whether you're really aware what is this KDS document, they might ask, which format do you use for KDS? Right, I'm fine. You're telling me KDS document, but I also want to know if you have really worked on KDS document, if you have really seen a KDS document. You might get a question, which format do we use for KDS? Which format do we use?
Excel.
It is your Excel sheet,
Excel.
right? So you never know how people want to judge your knowledge, so you have to be prepared for it. If you are able to answer me everything, but you do not know what is the format of this, whether this is a PDF format, Excel format, Word format, Notepad format, am I convinced with your knowledge, your explanation? You are telling me everything, but you are not aware in which format do we prepare it. You are telling that this is a PDF. You're wrong. Which means I straight away come to a conclusion, you have not worked on a real time. So these kind of a small points will cost you a lot in your interviews. Alright, so KDS is your key data structure. Basically, this information is part of your KDS when you are defining basic accounts payable. you will straight away look at this, you will configure it. These three settings are not going to take more than 15 minutes. What is the configuration time for this? Even when you are in a project, 15 minutes. Why only 15 minutes? Because everything is already available, right? It's all ready-made data. All you need to do is go to this particular step on SAP, copy the data from your Excel sheet. When I say Excel sheet, I mean KDS document. Create it in SAP. Copy, Control C in your Excel sheet, Control V in your SAP. Post it. That's it. Your configuration is completed. But how you are going to test and all is the main activity as a consultant. So assuming this is what we have decided, so I'll replace 1 with 2.
Sir, normally KDS will prepare by senior consultant.
It's not that prepared by senior consultant. It can be prepared by normal consultant also. It can be prepared by the project manager also, project lead also. Right? So let's say if we both are working in a project, let's say I'm a senior consultant, you are a junior consultant, or you are a consultant. But we both belong to SAP FICO. We both are working in one project. So what I will do, let's say I am part of the business meeting or business discussion with the client. You may not be part of the discussion with the client, because when we are discussing with the client, only one person will represent from a module, usually. One person from FI, one person from CO, one person from MM, one person from ST, likewise. From FICO, let's say I have been part of the initial discussion or business workshops and all. What I will do, I will make a note of it roughly. In front of the client, I'm not going to write in the Excel sheet, or I'm not going to maintain in detail. So I will write at high level that, okay, local vendors, you will have 6 vendors. I will tell that, okay, you give us the existing vendor list in your legacy system. What client will tell after the meeting, client is supposed to share me the vendor existing list. Okay, let's say they have these 6 existing list of vendors in their legacy system, and in SAP they want to have the same 6 vendors. So client will share to me in an email, right? He is not going to mark to everybody, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now we have also discussed that this is the number range. This is the number range. So this I might note in my notebook or on my Excel sheet, because client may not remember which number range for what. So I will make a note of it. I'll take the concurrence or confirmation of the client. Okay, for this vendor, we will go ahead with this number sequence. For this, this is the sequence. Now I will share this with you offline. This is within our team now. I will tell you, you please maintain, update this in the KDS. Now, who is updating this? As a senior consultant, I am updating, or as a consultant, you are updating?
I am updating.
You are updating, but you do not know why these 6 account groups are created. You are updating because I told you to update this information on the document, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now you know how to update the data in KDS, but why we are updating these 6 account groups, you are not aware, because you were not part of the business discussion with the client. What we had discussed, why client agreed, or why client wanted these 6 account groups, why only these number ranges, you do not know. You may not be aware unless I tell you, correct?
Yes, sir.
I may tell you, I may not tell you. There is no rule that I have to tell you. There is no rule that I should not tell you. It depends on the person with whom you are working. So if somebody is asking you that did you work on KDS? Now, according to our recent example, yes, you worked on KDS. You know how to prepare a KDS document. You will have an Excel sheet template. You will put vendor account group, same like this. Vendor number range, same like this. Over KDS document you have prepared. But how did you get that data? is what? More important, which means you have conducted business workshops or business meetings. Clear?
Yes, clear.
People might ask you, have you been part of business workshops or business meetings, discussions with the client? So if you say that you were part of it, what was that business process or what was that workshop all about? So these workshops or these meetings are module specific. You're talking about SAP FI. From FI, you will discuss GL separately, AP separately, AR separately, asset separately, taxes separately, and so on. So when you're talking about accounts payable with the client, all these points will come into picture, because in SAP it is straightforward. Even in the project itself, we are telling within 15 minutes you can complete the config. How you can complete the config within 15 minutes, provided you have all the data properly with you. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
If I do not have sufficient data or if I do not have proper data, it is not possible for me to complete the config, because I do not know what to create. I do not know where to assign. I may be aware of the configuration steps from SAP point of view, but my awareness, my knowledge is not going to be used by the client unless the requirement is explained, the requirement is accepted. The client will tell, this is what we want. Okay, as a consultant, you will see, okay, these are possible in system. You will tell, okay, this is fine, we will do it. So you will freeze it. When we say we will freeze it, you will discuss with the client, you will finalize the account groups, account number ranges. When you finalize the account groups, 6 groups, now system will not understand these 6 groups, because these are your account group names or account group descriptions, correct? In SAP, for vendor account group, it is a 4-digit alphanumeric code. What is your vendor account group? What is your vendor account group?
4-digit alphanumeric.
Vendor account group is a 4-digit alphanumeric code. Now you should also freeze, you should also finalize these 4-digit codes. It is not that you can create any 4 digits. That is again wrong. Somebody is telling you put this in the KDS, but what is the code for it? Which code should I create? I cannot say, can I straight away go ahead with 0001, 0002, 3, 4, 5, 6? No. 1001, 1002? No. A1, A2, A3? No. Z1, Z2, Z3? No. Somebody will have to tell me what to create, correct? Or I can assume and I can put any 4 digits of my choice as a consultant. Can we put any 4 digits of our choice? Is that allowed?
No, sir.
That is not allowed. I cannot put any 4 digits of my choice. These 4 digits which will identify an account group must be discussed with the client and agreed. Let's say for all the vendors, I am going to create like V001 and so on. So I will assume that V001 is vendor 1, vendor account group 2, vendor 3, vendor 4, 5, 6. So I will assume that, okay, local vendor is V1, foreign vendor is V2, intercompany vendor is V3, one time is V4, employee is V5, service is V6. So as a business, as a client, I will see how I can best connect this to my day-to-day operations so that all my business processes can be identified by any user. It should not be the case that I know the V001, but I do not know what is V001 is used for. I know V001 is a vendor account group because based on V, I'm able to identify. But I have 6 account groups. How do I know V001 is used for what account group? In the initial days, it is fine, but going forward, I want people to recognize, realize this, okay, this is used for this purpose, for which I need to create in a logical base. Correct? There has to be a logic behind every sequence that you're creating. It should not be the case that you have created an account group for which there is no logic. There has to be a logic, because it is not practically possible to remember everything. People go with logic. So you should have a logic. This is called your numbering strategy. Okay, what strategy you are using? What is the logic behind your master data? People might ask, what is your vendor account group? You tell V001. Why did you use V001? Who told you to put V001? Is it something that you have decided, or somebody told you, or you have discussed with the client? Then your answer has to be convincing enough. Because when you practice, what will happen? You will create any 4 digits of your choice. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
When we practice, what normally happens? We will assume any 4 digits we will create. But is it the same when you are in a project? This is not the same. This is discussed with the client and finalized. Same thing is what you have to assume on an Excel sheet before you log into SAP. Because when you're in SAP, you may find system in a messed up order. Different people will use it differently. So you may get unwanted confusions. Do not get into it. Though there is a mess in the system, you should have clear understanding before you get into system, so that even though there is messed up happened in the system, you are still convinced with your logic. You're still clear with your logic. You are bypassing the way that you are planning to create because of certain restrictions. Now, can I create the same number range as it is in the practice system, considering the fact different people have used different number ranges for no reason? Can I create it as it is? No, right? Yes, no?
No,
No.
you cannot
I
create it.
cannot create. Right? This is not my mistake, right? This is not my fault. This is not your fault. This is because we are using a practice server, which is a shared system by different people. So you have to be very clear where you are doing something which is not exactly you do in a real environment. This is one of that. Like this, there are different settings which we are going to understand practically now. Because most of the people in the interview tell, considering this, whatever they practice, the same thing they will tell, which is absolutely not possible in real environment, which is possible only in training environment. So you will be caught red-handedly. No matter how expert level configuration you are explaining, but logically you're wrong. Maybe technically you're wrong, but logically you're wrong. So people go by logic, not technically. Technically anybody can do it, but logically, whether this is the right approach or not is what I have to see. Now let's assume for all the vendor groups, I am going to create V001. Now even for this, we need to check if this code is available or not. So we will change it when we are on the screen. So this need not be V001, this can be Z001, it can be 1001, but whatever it is, we have to discuss with the client and finalize it. And tomorrow your client is not supposed to tell, no, I don't want V001, change it to Z series or some other series. Not so easy to change, because you would have mapped, you would have created vendors and all in the system. Different number ranges have already been used. You have to see what is the consequences, what is the impact of changing this configuration. You might get these kind of corrections from your client later on, stating, no, let's go ahead with this series, let's change this. But you must be confident enough to answer with the impact of certain corrections. Clear? Certain corrections are asked, you have to tell the impact of it. You must understand first if this is something that we can change at this point of time or not. Certain changes are possible, we can change it, but certain changes will have the retrospective impact, which means if you change this setting, you will have to change some other settings also which are connected to this. That also you have to see the impact. Not that your client said, okay, change this, you went ahead and then changed it, but you have not considered the subsequent impact of it. Then you are at a risk. Okay, so start thinking broadly from the business point of view, not just from the configuration point of view for the practice purpose. That is not going to help us anywhere. All right, so this is what, let's assume, and here what you are going to do, it's very simple. For vendor account group, do we have a code which is of 4 digits?
Yes, sir.
Correct? So number range will have 2-digit alphanumeric code. Number range will have how many digits? 2 digits. This is again alphanumeric. So I can create any 2 digits of my choice, but you have to create in a logical way. Let's say if I'm going ahead with vendor number range or vendor number group as V0012, let me create this as V1, V2, V3, V4. What I'll do, I'll put this as V1. Okay. And then I'll put this as V2. I did not put number ranges, we'll update it. V3, V4, V5, V6. Let me replace 1 with 2. It's changing everywhere. 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6, 6. Clear? Now, is this identical? My local vendor account group is V001 and my local vendor number range is V1. For V001, number range is 1 series. Similarly, for V2, number range is 2 series. Likewise, there should be a logic. If you know one code, you will be able to identify the subsequent settings also in the system. Any doubt on this? Groups that we have defined, number ranges that we have defined, any confusion in this? How we are going to assign this or how we are going to use this in a project?
Clear, sir.
Clear, right? So this is something that you are going to discuss with your client and then finalize. Put this in your KDS document. From the KDS document, you will do the configuration. Okay, not like the way we practice for our learning purpose. It is not the way which happens in a real environment. So let's say now we want to configure this. Before we configure this, I'll first go to vendor account group. Transaction code for vendor account group OB
OB A3.
OBA3, not OBA3. This is your OBD3. Okay, OBD3 is the screen where you create vendor account group, which is of 4-digit alphanumeric maximum. If I come down, we wanted to create V series. Let me check if V series is available or somebody has already used it. If somebody has already used it, you cannot use the same series. I'll go to position. Okay, so I'm looking for V series. I'm only going to put the first digit V and then I'll click on continue. So in the V series, there is only one group currently, VERT. So whatever the group that we want to create, is it available or not available? V001, V002, are
Available,
these
sir.
used already? These are not available already. So which means we can create. So what I will do here, I'll come to this screen, even in your project, same thing. What I'll do, I'll blindly click on new interest. I don't even care what it is. I'll simply come. This is my group V001. I'll copy this. I'll put this here. I'll copy the text local vendors. I'll put this text local vendor. I'll hit enter. I'll click on save. Okay, I get a prompt. You will be selecting your baseline configuration, whatever the TR you have. Continue. This is done. So we will talk about the field status of a vendor when we are creating master records. Currently, ignore this field status, and one-time vendor is used only in case of your one-time vendor account group. Otherwise, that is not used. So first one we have created. You need not come back like this, and again you need not click on new interest. What you can do, you can add another account group in the same sequence, V002 foreign vendors. Copy V002 and I'll put text foreign vendors. Now instead of saving, what I will do, I will click on this icon, next entry. Can you see this next entry icon?
Yes, sir.
I'll click on next entry. Now V003, I'll copy this intercompany vendor. Next entry V004. This is one-time vendor. For one-time vendor, we need to take this one-time account. One-time vendor, take this one-time account. Next entry V005. Employee vendor. Put this. Employee is not one time. I'm not going to enable this. Next entry V006. This is service vendor. Done with all the 6 account groups. Click on save. Now data is saved. If I go back, I will find all the account groups here. If I go to V series, I will find all this V001, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Any complication in this setting? Anything
No, sir.
challenging you found?
No, sir.
There's nothing challenging. It's simple, straightforward, copy paste from your Excel sheet. But the main point is how you are finalizing this data, what you are going to discuss with your client, and how you are going to freeze this data. How many account groups are to be used? what code to be used for your account group, and what number range to be used, and what is the interval that you are going to use from number to number, whether you want 8-digit vendor code, 6-digit, 10-digit, 9-digit, something that you are going to discuss with your client and agree on this. Once you are agreed on this, these points you are going to place on your KDS document. Based on the KDS document, you are going to maintain the configuration in screen. Clear? So people might ask, how do you decide which account group to be created? Then you have to go back, explain all this. You will conduct business workshops with the client, or you will have the discussions with your client, understand their existing business process, and then you will identify the new account groups to be created in SAP based on their existing process. And then similarly, number ranges, what number range they want. Sometimes your client might have some number range logic in their existing system. They might want to bring the same logic. Let's say in your legacy system, Tally, Oracle, or any other, your local vendors are one series. When you come to SAP, you still want to have one series local vendor. So something like that, they have to decide which is more user friendly when it comes to their business users. Tomorrow the user is not supposed to get confused. They should not say, no, in our Tally or Oracle the number range was one series, but in SAP it has become 4 series. I got confused. So incorrect data entry might happen, mistakes might happen. So you have to think from a broader perspective and then understand the requirement accurately. Clear? When it comes to SAP, when it comes to config, it is straightforward. But before you do that straightforward config, there is a lot of work effort to be kept or to be put in from your side as a consultant. That is where your consultant role is to be displayed or is to be projected. Now, okay, this is fine. Account groups we are able to create successfully with our predefined numbering. Next one, let's go ahead with this series, vendor number range. What I'll do, I'll go to vendor number range screen. Did we save this? Okay, this is already saved. Now let me go to vendor number range XKN1 transaction code. In this, I am going to click on display interval. From here, I need to identify one interval which is not used earlier. So currently I am selecting one series, but from one series I can straight away see somebody has already used it, but they have used until what number? Until 14 only, right? But 5 series, do we have any number? What I'll do, I'll go to change mode. In this change interval, top, if you click on interval, you will find something called free intervals. Do you find this option? So this
Yes, sir.
free intervals tells you the numbers that are free to use or that are not used anywhere in the vendor number range. If I click on this, system is going to help me. This option is there in S4 HANA, not in ECC. System is going to help me identify the numbers that are freely available now. These number ranges are not used anywhere. So system is telling you can pick any number range from this. So for time being, to meet our requirement, what I am going to use, I am going to use this series. Okay, so 1.5 series is what currently available. I'll put this as V1. I'll continue. So V1 is already exist. Okay, so this series is fine. So what I'll do, I'll remove this. I'll just copy the from number. This is the number. Close. Now I need to find out the number series from V1, V2, V3 is what we assumed. but somebody has already used V1. So instead of a V1, let me create, here I'll click on add. Since V1 is already utilized, go top, new entry is here. Do we have S1? For V1 alone, I'll put V special character from this number and until this 100. Okay, I'm not using all the numbers. Continue. Where is our V at the rate? Okay, this is what I have used. For the next numbers also, I am going to use the same sequence. Here I am going to replace 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Clear? Only for the practice purpose. So that you can use the same sequence next 100 number intervals. We are not going to create 100 vendors. So it is of no use. We are blocking 1 lakh numbers for everybody. Clear? So now I'll copy this number as my from number. I'll insert new line. Now how many I need to create? 5 more. I'll add 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll put from number here everywhere. I'm going to put V2, V3, V4, V5, V6. Now I am typing here, but when you're in a project, you're not even going to type. You will have the data in your Excel sheet in the same format. You will have data in Excel sheet in the same format. All you will do is Control C on your Excel sheet, Control V on SAP. Clear? So here I'll put 101. Everywhere I'll put 1. This is 2. Sorry. 101, 201.
If anything needs to be external, they will mention that in KDS document. Huh?
Yes. Okay, I'll put this. Sorry, I did not put 2 number. Hundred to 199. I'll put this. I'll put 200. Okay, I'll put double line here. This is 599. This is 499. This is 399. This is 299. Okay, so if you look at this, whatever I am highlighting, okay, just look at what I have highlighted. So I have used V1 instead of 1. I've used this exclamatory mark. 15 all zeros, 100 to 199. For V2 151 all zeros. Here also this is 1 only. Let me put this 1. Okay, so for V1 we are using 1 series at the last 3. You check. For 2 2 series, for 3 3 series, for 4 4 series. Now this confusion is common for all your number ranges, especially in your practice environment. But when you are in a real environment, everything is blank. You are free to use any range that you want. Clear? This confusion is only at your practice environment. Keep this point in your mind. So that is why always get the logic what we have decided on your Excel sheet. Am I clear? Whatever we've defined on the Excel sheet, stick to this, but on SAP, what we are defining is according to the availability. Whatever is available, we have to go ahead with it. Otherwise, we have to delete other settings, which is not proper, which is not correct. So after these two settings, we have to do the assignment of these number ranges to this. Now that you are going to do in another screen. What is this assignment screen? OB,
OBAS.
OBAs.
go to OBAs. It is telling this is locked. Fine. Because I am on the change view. OBAS. I'll go to position. I'll give V001, and these are all our account groups 1 to 6. For this number range, I've used V1, and for all the others, V2, for V3, V4, V5, V6. Is our logic correct? For V001, V1 number range, V002, V2 number range. Am I clear with the logic?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. So
Yes.
you have to go ahead with the logic. It's not that whatever is there, whatever you are randomly creating, then you're wrong. So everything that you do is created with a logic behind it. So you should strictly go with the logic. I'll click on save. Now these three settings will complete my vendor related basic settings, which are exactly same from your ECC. But for us to create a vendor account in SAP S/4HANA system, along with ECC vendor settings, you will have to do business partner settings. What settings?
Business partner settings.
Business partner settings will have to be done. So business partner settings we will do in the next session. But before we close today's session, we will create the same data only on Excel sheet for customer. Okay. Now assume that this is my vendor that I have created, but we also need customer. If you know vendor configuration, or if you know accounts payable, your accounts receivable is quite opposite of it. Okay, your vendor is quite opposite of your customer. Similarly, your customer is quite opposite of your vendor. If you know vendor, you must know customer. If you know customer, you must know vendor. In short, your AP, AR are opposite. Debit becomes credit, credit becomes debit. Expense becomes income, income becomes expense. What is expense there, what is income there is what you have to practically understand from the business point of view. Clear? Now AP will become what?
AR.
AP will become AR. Vendor will become what?
Customer.
Vendor will become customer. So I'll replace vendor with customer. Now everywhere you have local. So local vendor, local customer is also there. Correct? Huh? If you have
Yes, sir.
foreign vendor, you can also have foreign customer. Intercompany vendor is there, which means intercompany customer is also there. Agree? If you have one-time vendor, you will also have one-time customer. If you have employee vendor, you will also have employee customer. If you have service vendor, you will also have service customers. Possible or not?
Possible, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now for vendors, I used V all zeros one, assuming V for vendor. For customer, which logic I will replace? V with
C.
C. C001, C002, C003, C004, C005, C006. Number range, 2-digit interval. V1 will be replaced with C1.
Yes, sir.
Here I'll put C2, C3, C4, C5, and then C6. Clear? Same thing you will have to define in SAP. 3 transaction codes that you have used will be replaced. Account groups we have created in OBD3. So I'll just change D3 to D2. I will be in customer account group. Any change in the screen except customer account group? On that screen it was showing vendor account group. On this screen it is showing customer. OBD3. Now if you look at this, any change except the term customer vendor? Do you see any changes except this name vendor replaced by customer? Any screen, any change on your screen? Can anybody find any differences or it is the same?
Same, identical.
Right? It is exactly the same. In short, it's quite opposite. So if you know how you've created vendor account group by adding new entries, same point here. You just need to add new entries. Inside also same. You just need to put the code C001, put the description, save it. Okay, I'm not creating it now because we'll create it tomorrow so that you will refresh it once again. Next one, we have created number range. For number range, we have used xkn1. I'll use xdn1. This is also same. I'll go to intervals. Same here also people used different number ranges. We assumed C series. If you see after B, D series is used. So C series is free to use. We can use C1, C2, C3. But number you need to find out from top interval. Click on free intervals. These many series are available. We can use the series 34 at the end, 101 to 100 to 199, 200 to 299 to meet our requirement. And then you will do the assignment. Any doubt on this? Any differences from your customer setting, vendor setting screen, except the term change of customer vendor,
No, sir.
right? So you have to do it logically. And this is your initial setting of your vendor and customer. In short, the base setting for your accounts payable and accounts receivable. If you commit a mistake here, your entire accounts payable, your entire accounts receivable reporting is gone for a toss. You cannot get your reports and all according to your requirement, according to your choice, if the basic settings are not defined properly. This is like the base for your accounts payable, base for your accounts receivable. You have to get the proper business requirement and then configure it. Even though you're practicing, make sure the proper account groups, proper numbering, proper assignment, only then go to the next setting. Clear? So tomorrow what we
Yes, sir.
will do, we will complete the BP related settings for this. So far what we have done is only vendor related settings. In S/4HANA, before you create a vendor, you must create a business partner. From vendor side, we are good. But to make it a business partner, we need to do 2 more settings, which we will understand in the tomorrow's session. Okay. All right. Let me stop this recording.